human resource and lean management. Lean in the human system. This is what we are going to discuss today. Basically, human resource management in a lean system. Absolutely, it is a two-way street wherein lean philosophy principles are applied to human resource processes and methods. Or should I say the vice versa? Human resource methods are applied to the organizational lean journey. Or so it's a two-way street. It is like two sides of the same. So, what are the many dimensions that we talk around it? We have so many dimensions in terms of tools, in terms of evaluation, in terms of system, and this in together. Please understand, this together form the system thinking. If you don't have the system in place, if you don't have the requisite tools out there, if you don't have a feedback mechanism, the system thinking does not become success. So all dimension of an operating system must work in unison at tandem with each other for success. HR is a strong influencing factor in many of them, and I say most of them, if not all of them. What is culture? When I say all, not all of them, is the technological factors. Machinery, you don't have control in things, right? In an organization, if there are certain breakdowns in the machine, you just cannot help with it. So, coming back to it, what is culture? It's basically how you react to a situation. What is your behavior? What is your thought process? What is your habits? Something which we go around it. So, it is learned responses to the problem. What is your behavior, shared assumptions or beliefs, your principle, your thought process, and some of the habits or autopilot, your stickler to the rules and regulation. If you grind all of these things, comes out the color. So, number one failure model of lean. Lean is not born. Believe me or not, we just cannot give a birth, or we just cannot enact it from n numbers of days. So, tomorrow I cannot start that from today onwards, we will practice lean management. So, it's not what we see. Essentially, if you go to an office, if you go to a plant, if you go to a factory and you see sparingly or sparsely populated employee, doesn't mean that it is a lean organization. Lean is born by our thought process. How do we think? And that exactly is meant by lean. So focus is on principles guiding subconscious effort, leveraging your manpower, your cognitive ability to the requirement of the situation. Behaviors are observable, patterns of action. Action, talking about action, how do we go and out enact our daily scheme of things? Definitely, apart from your skill issues, you will utilize a lot of tools. You'll have to utilize a lot of machinery. You have to use a lot of equipments. So, decision on a specific context is what action is all about. It and all these culminates into result, output, direct impact, something which is tangible, something that is visible, something that is observable. So we have this principle of learn, apply, and reflect. You should always pick up the tricks of the trade. You should always learn from the mistake of the others. Then apply them. Whatever you have learned, apply them, practice it, and possibly after the event. When I say event, when what you have practiced it, reflect. Can you better it out? Think from your heart, and so on so forth. So, what are the articulate changes that we go around it? Number one, challenges that needs to be done, and it can be done only via training, coaching, or probably the language that we communicate in. So, in training, it has to be structured, properly delivered, with a proper pedagogy, with a proper key points or key takeaways. Your communication has to be impactful. Coaching may be slow, may be inefficient, but a proper feedback is takes you a lot of mileage, gives connection, builds relationship. Common language is framework for teaching and coaching, paints a rosy picture, easier to mimic. Remember, common language, you can be able to recuperate the thing in your heart and in your mind. So it requires conscious effort. Consistency is the crux. Consistency is the main fundamental thing to articulate. Now, we will talk about experiences, both formal and informal. When it is formal experiences, we strive to form a new habit. We look for an improvement or event. That is formal. We get a degree, we get an engineering degree, we got a management degree, we got a pharmaceutical degree. So the formal education that comes around it. And then there is the majority of the experiences, because I think there is no big teacher than the life itself. It's all about your reaction, your understanding of a situation, your roles that you play in, and probably you can always have a role model. Whom do you adore? Whom do you look up to? These are the two methods of experiences, be it formal, be it. Now let us have some question that can be let me allow me to answer those things which might crisscross your mind. What are they? Challenge through question, develop standard working question. Always say, if you're doing certain things, practicing a way of life, going with a certain processes, what if? That is number thing that needs to be taken care of. And you can always talk with your subordinate, you can always talk to your supervisor, build in a reflection time for the right event. After, at the end of the meeting, after an action review plan, have a right event as what exactly can be going right and going wrong. So we can talk about Kaizen event, continuous improvement. How can you apply your experiences so that there is a continuous improvement for yourself and company? The areas of influence. Number one is succession planning. We have the performance evaluation, which is basically a process with a certain criteria, which is certain benchmark: good, bad, ugly, good, better, best. The way you want to go it, hiring design, hiring process and criteria, onboarding when you have inducting a new employee, resource capacity planning, recognition and reward system, training and development. In short, we are looking for an organization development. Now, please understand, these are the areas that can be impacted through lean HR. Call to action. So what process in your organization would be a great place to start with? Number one, where you can demonstrate your efficiency, where you can demonstrate your ability, where you can apply the lean thought process. How can you manage the show at lower cost with lower number of people around it? What mechanism within HR can help the most in the lean journey right now? Lean, remember, is to change how people think. How do they perceive? How do they imagine things? We must be the change that we desire. Remember, it is you wherein the lean begins in. It is your thought process. It is your, and that is what we are looking at it. Talking about it, being the performances. If you look out here, what are the things? We talk about performing, we talk about manage, we talk about define, we will be talking about predictability and optimizing. If we do not perform, we will perish. If we do not measure, we will not be able to manage. If we will not define, it will never get executed. If the predictable rewards are not there, the rewards cannot be fathomed. If things are not optimized, profitability or revenue will not increase. Simple and straightforward for requiring lean management in HR. Now, if you look into it, there's something called value. Now, we have to improve the value. See, this is what improving the value is about. It. The look out here, the arrow is on the top side. Value, we need to improve the value. How do we improve the value? With the help of performance, with continuous management and feedback, with continuous definition of the role and clarity thereabout. We predict what is going to happen and how are we aware of it, and optimize the situation, optimize the process. Now that is the only way we can create values. Then comes three arrows. Remember, all the three arrows are pointing downwards. God knows for what reason. We have Muda, we have Muri, and we have Mura. So what is Muda? Muda is any futile activities, any useless activities, any gossips, any things that is a hindrance to the work. Negate it. Muda, Muri, and Mura are Japanese terminology. They believe that any futile things, leave it. Any futile objectivity, leave it. Go away from it. What is Muri then? Muri thinks it is impossible to accomplish certain job. Certain tasks are given to you or has been meant for you, which is impossible to fathom, which you cannot conquer at all. Don't waste time on processes, imaginations, and wherein your motivation is hugely depleted. You have to discard something. Remember, the arrows are pointing downward. Come to the third terminology called Mura. What is Mura? Mura is which is not regular at regular interval. There might be activities which are beneficial, but they are not regular. So you might have your income from a certain section, but that cannot be your livelihood. So that is very cyclical. You might be doing certain activities which you are good at, but and it might be bringing you some sort of money for the organization, for you also, but that is not a regular flow. You cannot count upon it. So with it, the third part is Mura, where it is irregular. Do not prioritize it. The question is, do not prioritize it. So improvisation of value can only be done if we can reduce Muda, if you can reduce Muri, if you can reduce Mura. Muda, Mura, Muri. Remember, so in case if it is Japanese terminology, you people are not accustomed to you. Please understand, you have to improve your values by reducing futility, by reducing the impossible aspects, by reducing the irregular things that is there in your mind. So I am giving you the Japanese concept from a Japanese company, Toyota, where it says, what are you talking about in background? What do you think around it? So it is all the gossip that you go talk around here, out here, right? So, and then comes, how do you define the current situation? This is very true. How do you define the current situation? Where do we stand? What is that is required, and how do we accomplish it? So where do we stand, where we need to be, where we want to be? Then comes goals is the objective that we are all striving to. Now how and what is the specific change that we want to accomplish goals? It can be, you can enlarge the goal, you can enrich the goal, you can hasten the process of achieving the goal. Then comes the analysis. What are the root cause of the problem? What are the root cause? Why do you think you are projecting certain changes? Why do you think the existing system is not the best one? So we come to recommendation. There comes the right hand side of the form. What is a proposed countermeasure? How do you propose to achieve, or should I say overcome the process? Can we plan it? How, what activities will be required for implementation? How will you responsible for what and when? How, who, what, when? Answer this question. Plan for everything. PDCA. Plan, do, check, act is what we look at it. Follow up. How we will know if the action have the impact needed? What remaining issues can be anticipated? Remember, this is of vital importance. And herein, you give this feedback from which can be debated, which can be brainstormed, and if found suitable, will. So, coming back to what lean in HR during a crisis, just wanted to give a recapitulation of what exactly would be, what exactly HR is looking at during the crisis time. How do we manage the show? I have got some pictographical representation for things to get etched into your mind. So, is lean HR? You look at it. It's a very hectic schedule. If it is looking out here, it's there's nothing which is planned. See, people are coming this way, people are going that way, some people are walking, some people are on two-wheelers, some people are four-wheelers, some people are commercial, some people are on a public transport. See, people, the cars are coming this way. It's all hocus pocus. It's complete chaotic, and this is where what happens when it comes of exigency. Now you have to think about ways to avoid it and overcome it. So what is the lean process? One process that we usually do is we overload a person with a lot of work. See, the pictograph. There's a three-wheeler which has been dumbbelled with God knows what kind of rubbishes, what kind of material, and what kind of things been transported from point A to point B. Then there is something called, often it has been known that in the crisis many a times people are doing the same job or duplication. Look at it, two commercial vehicles, one small narrow road. everybody is in a hurry to go achieve the destination or reach the destination. Do you think any of them has reached the destination? In probability, no. Why? Because that's not the way to find it out. And then there are people who are very creative about it. Look, the situation is not being changed, right? The situation has not been changed. Now this is becoming creativity. See, with this particular picture of hectic things, it is again a hectic road. There it's a rush hour. Roads are jam packed, and look what this gentleman is doing. He is actually moving his two-wheeler on a road divider and making pass the traffic. So this is what creativity is all about. You got to be creative to come to a solution. So how do we improve efficiency? The question remains simple and straight. How do we improve the goal efficiency, the goal alignment? So we have to think small. Before thinking big, we have to think small. So keep the long term business strategy intact with the small time execution plan. Very important. You will achieve your long term objective only if small milestones are achieved. So, how do we have this HR strategies? We can have a center of strategic HR directions, which broadly gives us a guideline. What we can study the local trends, the global benchmark, and so on. Accordingly, plan a local execution plan of HR and individual goals. This can be done with key performance indicators, KPIs, absolutely new center of excellence foundation. We will talk of this new center of excellence, and this is what the goal is all about it. The way once we talk about the goals, we will go to the leadership development, the compliance in the subsequent two slides. Believe me, and we can manage the show. So the idea is long term business objectivity can be achieved with a small milestone or small business execution plan, which can have a broader guidelines for an HR strategy with the local hires and individual goals, individual employee been given out here. Now we come to leadership development. What is the question? How to improve the efficiency? Leadership development to measure and probably to remeasure, become more transparent. So what people and what practices? The question is what? Create context. Remember, context is very important. Alignment is very important. Alignment of the organizational goal to the individual goal. Lead by example. Promote the culture of transparency. Be very transparent. Let people see through you. The more transparent you are, the more confidence and trust the people will have towards you, and sustain the change. Then you remember, select the talent. You have to select the employee who would be looked for a or who would be groomed for a newer position, responsibilities, recruit them, onboard them, and plan for them. Develop these people, give them accessibility to best of the coaching, the best of the management development program, the best of the workshop, the assess talent, plan development, drive performance, empower and enable them. Simply don't just give them feedback, also receive feedback. This is very true. Do not only be interested in giving feedback, be it positive or negative. Always solicit feedback also, and evaluate that, differentiate the performance. Recognize. Remember, leadership development is all about recognition of achievement, recognition and rewarding them. So self-evaluation, priority setting, action planning, execution, remeasuring is all what we have it, and we can have the graphs around it as to who is excelling and what kind of terminologies, and this is a like art skill that can goes around it. So we talk about self evaluation, priorities setting, action planning, execution, remeasuring. Remember this, these are very important. Let us come to compliance sectors. Compliance is all about engaging trust. Compliance is all about effusing confidence in the employee, in the would be employees, and not last but always, never the least, probably the maximum in the consumer, be it your end consumer or the mid consumer. You're talking about customers, you're talking around it. Trust, build confidence through transparency, compliance. What we are talking about, data quality, transparent communication, reliability in terms of quality, systematic approach in everything what you do, everything what you follow, and so on and so forth. If we can do it, believe me, compliance and trust engagement becomes very handy, and it will pay you rich dividends. This is what we have to do. So what is we are looking at it? We are looking at lean office initiatives. What a lean office initiative doesn't mean just only less number of workforce, means adequate workforce, but less number of resources. Let's say any stationery that is required being consumed on a need to know basis, on a need to require basis, please spend them. You should be very judicious, you should be very prudent in making companies expenditure. Lean value stream initiative, you need to have those values inside you that nothing should go wrong, nothing should be wasted, zero wastage. It is if and as on when on required things are required, please procure them. The methods or the philosophy of just in time method needs to be followed. Then the lead initiative, so once the values have been put in, nothing goes wrong. Then the lead design initiative, it is all about your strategy, what you are going to go around it. It is all about the exploration. When I say just in time or total quality management, the execution, the assessment, if you are very transparent as to what you are taking, what kind of action you are taking, which is backed by relevant data, and ensuring that you are not spilling over your budget, that is sufficient enough. With this, we come to an end for this presentation. Thank you for watching.